Hello, welcome back to our old main ship 34T Mark 1 trawler. I've done a few projects since the last introductory video in the short time we've had it. First thing was we got the name put on either side, port and starboard, and we also got our logo, Starbird, which is apparently a phoenix, and there it is up there. Beyond that, some of it's been inside, some of it's been outside, but we are progressing. The boat is completely usable. Got a little Vancouver Island sticker on each side of the stern here, instead of having a port of call, which isn't particularly useful because the dinghy's always in the way, and I'm not ready to put the writing on the hull of the dinghy. Another thing I did, not a major thing, but just a convenience thing, is the two port and starboard fender holders that were up on the foredeck have been moved. And one is not in use anymore, and the other one is way back here on the upper starboard side for now. We'll see how it works. Those fenders are really only used for the dinghy and sort of secondary things. The problem with the nice fender holders are that they're too small for our main fenders, which are 11 inches in diameter, and these ones are good for 9 and smaller, I guess. So that's been moved, and I'm going to get rid of the other one that holds 3 because we don't need tons of them. It's a breezy day here. I hope the wind isn't getting in the audio too much, but our Livingston dinghy is now more or less permanently attached to the boat in the way that I was hoping it would be. Specifically, Weaver davits, which I had with the boat, but didn't have the loops attached on, but they are now onto the extended hull. You might remember that we had this stainless steel loop that attached onto this bracket, and it came up and around and then back down to the other side here. Not sure what it was really for, but we didn't need it. So the dinghy is offset to starboard to allow a little more room to get in and out of the door, and to allow the Admiral to get in and out of her kayak on the port side without any issues. The dinghy works really well with the crane that we've got. We used to both have to pull Livingstons. To anybody that's ever had one or used one knows that they're pretty heavy. They're built like battleships, but even with a single purchase line, it lifts very easily. Just crank it up, no problem. And inside there's been a few changes, nothing really major, but I did get the little Garmin Striker 4 depth sounder installed, fish finder. It's front and center on the instrument panel. It's not exactly where I would have put it, but the instructions said it had to be at least 9 inches away from the compass for some reason. So it's right here on top of the instrument panel and below the chart plotter, and it works fine, just like the one I had in my previous boat. I will lift up the floor and show you where the transducer ended up, but that will come and I'll insert that. From there, one of the other major things that sort of got done here is I installed the new 40 amp solar controller. It's a ePeaver 40 amp MPPT, so it's a smart controller, and it hooks into the inverter charger and is working great so far. One other thing we did was we finally found an interim, at least, little futon. We had no secondary sleeping area on the boat other than the V-berth, because what was sort of the sofa before was actually a couple of boat seats that were meant for outdoor, and they didn't fold down and they didn't have a lot of room. So found this futon at the Restore. It'll do the trick for a while. Got 3 bins underneath for storage, and so far so good. Much more comfortable to sit on. To sleep on, it's really only a glorified single. I think it's 43 inches wide, which is okay for 2 grandkids probably, but maybe not for 2 adults. They'd have to be pretty good friends and of modest stature. So anyway, that's basically what's happening on the inside. So one of the reasons we got this particular little futon, I would have liked something bigger for sleeping, but it is about the maximum size of depth, wall to front, because our engine hatches limit us to 34 inches, and a lot of sofa beds and futons are 3 feet wide, so we needed something a little more modest so we could open the engine hatches when we needed to. But I'm getting down towards the transducer for the new little Garmin fish finder. And here it is down here, way down in the bilge behind the engine. And it's attached in a different way than I've done before. The previous boat, I siliconed it in. These are meant to be transom underwater and transducers, but they work inside as well if they're mounted correctly. And YouTube was my friend and told me that you could mount it with something called duct seal. Not duck, but duct, which is basically some kind of a construction putty, cheap. It comes out, you just mold it into the shape you want and place it and then push the transducer in. And so far so good. It's working fine, and let's hope it stays that way. Apparently it doesn't dry out or get hard or anything. It stays moist and should work well. If not, it'll be back to using silicone. Into the cockpit, still a work in progress, but you'll see that the old box that I had up top on the bridge deck is now down here. It might be leaving the boat altogether soon, but I'll show you why it's down here instead of upstairs. And here's the reason. The futon, which is in the salon, replaces these boat seats that were used as the sofa downstairs. And so they were conveniently 2, a single here and a double seat here. And so they're just situated for additional seating. And here, I didn't take the cover off it on a previous video, but here is one previous owner's attempt or design of a helm seat. So the fabric seat part lifts off and there's lots of storage underneath. I've just put this little cushion that we've had for a bit of a backrest, but needs to be refinished, and I'll try and find a more permanent way to deal with the seat back. So here you'll see this stainless steel arch, and it is a beautiful 1¼ inch diameter piece of work. Didn't want to lose it, so I moved it up here, and it's become, you know, part of the framework for the solar panels. So these are the original 2 panels on the port side, and they were attached to this aft bimini loop, making bimini not usable. In fact, they cut part of the fabric out of it. So anyway, I moved everything back about 3 feet, used that stainless loop in order to support the aft end of the panels. I added another 100 watt and a 50 watt panel, so we're up to 350 now, which is doing a great job. Everything is charging at about 13.8 on a decent day, and the batteries are sitting fully charged, no issues. I do have to clean up some of the wiring. As you can see, it's a bit of a mess, so I will have to deal with that, but so far so good. And I've got another old panel sitting here, which I'm going to just hook up. I think it's only 15 or 20 watts. I'm going to hook it up just as a maintainer for the start bank, engine starting bank. So that's it for this video. Plenty more projects to go. It'll be an ongoing situation probably for as long as I have the boat, but for now it is Starbird over and out.